So I started living in the theater. I would sit in there when nobody was there and just be like, well, I wish this could stay forever. So when did that happen? I'm not sure. I'm tired. I enjoyed that quite a bit. I enjoyed doing it. I would love to continue. I'm kind of in a transitional state. I might have to go back. But I do think that there are opportunities. I think you always have to start off with a blueprint. So you're seeing this thing being born, you know? That's not easy in the practicality of that. As you know, you're facing a big old wall and you have a deadline, so it's just all about that flexibility. You just have to compromise. You have to compromise with everything. Your energy of the day, the medium of the day, your time, you know? And a lot of things will happen that you didn't even expect and that are better. So I'll be open to those, you know? And I've just been kind of letting, you know, if I feel it, do it, you know? Whatever's in my head. Hoping that people will follow me and do it. I can't see them, but I could see, like, if someone's watching. And so I don't have the hugest amount of patience. Is this going to be in the works for me? Am I going to have to shut her down? You can't always just lay down when it's not working. You have to be like, no, we are going to do this because it's important. So that's what I've been doing since January. It keeps me honest.
I was a 23-year-old recent college grad. I had an idea. This insanely queer version of the mysteries, a spitball of a kind of lovely fairy tale, a big queer adaptation. No one wanted to give me the time of day. How do you get your work out there? I can't figure out a way, so that's where I find myself. You find 2 boards, a place to put them up, and you put it on stage and hope that people show up. So that's the first thing. Trying to make things completely my own. Gotta express myself somehow. These stories parodied song lyrics. 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10. There's drag queens. You gotta have a hook, man. So you have to teach people what they're watching in a way that makes them feel like they're in on a joke that, oh, the guy next to me didn't get it because I know what the writer just did there. So I rewrote the entire show, gender swapped a period version of it. That's what I think I've learned in the years after years of making mistakes that, like, okay, you get thrown curveballs. I think we all have these stories inside us that we think people wouldn't care to hear, like, that's boring or that's not that interesting. You know what I mean? If we write too generally to please a general audience, you're never going to find your audience. Write. Don't be afraid to write things that are specific to you and feel like people won't get it. This opens a whole new stratosphere of what I want to tell the world.
Okay, obviously I'm Billy. I grew up in the hard part of South LA. No, Hollywood. New York and Zimbabwe. I just remembered, I ran into an old friend, Puerto Rican from Spain. No, a Greek from Denmark. It was a struggle. We'd bump heads. Yeah, it was more like a ritual. Yeah, I could be Alexander Stanislavski, an Italian Arabian princess. You know, I'd go dance in the morning in my jazz shoes, unitard, dance belt. It's a game changer. Yeah, so I go in from 8 a.m. till 12:30, and then I go to London, Australia, Iran. By the way, I got a superpower. The power to hypnotize. But in a good way. Hypnotize them in a euphoria way. Yeah, they get really excited when I talk about yoga and we start off running. What else? Yeah. I didn't know I was a comedian, but I do remember going to acting school. It was 2007. So I was there for a year, from 2013, 2014. What do you want to do with your life? I decided to cut loose. I feel like cheating and asking you a crazy question just because they brought their twist. I had a one-on-one last night. I had one today. That was back in 2000s. Okay, yeah, that's harsh. I feel like what would be best in this world is if we learn to accept and love people for who they are.
All right, let's see. I want to add... Oh, hello. I can actually get back to this anytime I want to. I'm God. Do you believe me? Let me show you. I direct all of this, everything, and it's pretty darn good. I'm running all the transitions. I can make it snow, I can have the smoke rise, bring in the fog, and this is not the full culmination of everything that's been able to be developed here. There's multiple layers. And the beauty of all of this is, it's never about the day everything went perfectly. You can leave it. You don't have to wrap it up at the end of the day. Always leave on a cliffhanger. That's the gold. All right, so I want to recreate. I want to recreate the circle, the world, and space. And how do we recreate this circle? I truly believe that when you're crafting something, it's easier to work backwards. Actually, that's how I deal with a lot all across the globe. So how do I start? Well, I started by thinking about what to do. If you can build brick by brick by brick by brick and show the foundation, it's a much more palatable presentation. How? You gotta engage with the heart and the mind and know what your fears are. Be honest and truthful and in the present moment. It's important that we all learn to be our own heroes. And when you get that, we will have the ability to create a world together, and it becomes effortless. Do you want a sandwich? I want a sandwich. I think I'm making a ham sandwich.
Humans are idiots, but they're very human and they're very real, and their suffering, I think, can be felt by all of us. I had started telling stories to my dad when he was fixing the boat, and it was all I could do that he wouldn't send me home. These two beings were doing absolutely nothing in the cosmos, coveted by the spirit of goodness. They kind of took over the world when there's nobody else around, which is what you can do when there's nobody else around. But he realized finally, and so did the big guy, that these guys were wonderful beings made out of goodness, so they have all the knowledge that is necessary in a human heart to become good, and manage to stick their noses and their mouths into everything that the humans are doing, whether the humans pay attention to them or not, and are quite snide from time to time when the humans are idiots. You can't see them, so you can never prove they're around, but they're always there. Well, like I told you, I used to tell stories to my dad, but he died when I was 8, and that left a big hole. And before I figured out how to be sad, I would get really mad and I would say, that's not fair. And that's when the idea came to me. Everyone always talks about their consciences. I would have done it, but my conscience said no. And they talk about their consciences all the time, but they don't really know. So that's where the story came from. Somebody said, that's somebody smart, not me. I'm just quoting somebody smart, they said. If you can't, if you don't know, just see what happens. I may offer up my services. I'm good at things that nobody else wants to do. I can do these things. I was thinking about writing a book.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Thanks. I am a performer. I'm a singer, singing all these really crazy, like bizarre, incredibly compelling, different alternate life things that are sensitive, painful, delicate, confusing, difficult to understand. Just a little question. Very curious. I've never heard of a little question. Just plain old but fascinating sounds. So that was sort of avant-garde. I'm wondering, what were we originally aiming towards? Yeah, we were focusing on a Western European mask and puppet makers, pasting a life together. And a paycheck for me. What could be better in this world? That's very elusive and open-ended. Well, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. No, I don't know what you guys have down there, but a world renewal ceremony, intimacy, and a closeness with others would make our world better. Oh, and lots of heroin. Yeah, I wish I'd had some of that in my early 20s. But once I told myself, no, just go ahead and try it. I didn't get to that point till I was in my 30s, but I had a lot. More opportunities started opening up for me. I started performing with crazy people, doing circles about the schools up in Humboldt County. So yeah, it's been a really interesting journey, and that's part of why it actually was really cool for me to also connect with unceded ancestral territories of the Wiyot tribe in Eureka, aka Jaru Chi-Chi.
I quit my job. I quit my job. A lot of people always want me to choose. Ironically, I just don't feel that that's true to form. But if I'm feeling an emotion, I definitely can hear background music. You know what I'm saying? Other people try to separate those two parts of me. But when I completely get control of my career and how I want things to go, it's going to be more so hand in hand like. It commingles really well in my head. It makes sense to me. For me, it's like more so being considerate of the situation. I think that's what makes somebody that can go back and forth. Sometimes you're going to come off as unnecessarily big, over exaggerated. You have to turn it up. If you can be aware of the project you're working on, you're going to kill it. You have a lot more space when it comes to the machinery. You don't have to play. How do I define myself? There are different things that I can tap into and address. Whatever I want to express, I'm going to express. And I have that freedom to do so. And that's extremely empowering to me. I can just be what I want to be. I could say what I want to say. And most of the time, what I want to say is in no way harmful to anybody. If I want to just get up and express myself in a way that might be confrontational or, ruffle feathers, I have a lot of followers on Instagram. And instead of that being a motivating factor, that kind of demotivated me. That made me like, my goodness, why am I even trying? That got shut down. What do I do now? Nothing. I do nothing now. It was so unhealthy for me. It was so bad. So once I found a reason to get up, I had to get up. I came back, whole new attitude. And it was a good thing. It feels so much better because you don't realize that doing nothing is so detrimental to your mental. It's terrible. And it was like, oh, my goodness, my heart. It broke. But then it grew like 17 sizes. It was like a big thing for me.
I remember getting ready for school and being so very caught up in, your junior year in high school, being very caught up in, I'm going to be an adult and I need to look this specific certain way. And gosh, I think I wasn't doing anything really big. I was maybe straightening my hair or something. And my mom came in and unplugged it and said, "It's not a beauty contest. None of this is a beauty contest. You have to stop now." And I turned around and I yelled at her, "Life's a beauty contest." And it stuck throughout when I was in college. And I ended up doing a course in women's studies. The professor was absolutely incredible. She was from Siberia. She had the coolest, most amazing perceptions that we don't have in the US because it's a whole different culture. I ended up doing my capstone project on perceptions of beauty and how these perceptions of beauty caused people to make more money in life, have less money in life, have better outcomes in marriage or in the quality of homes they live in, the quality of health care they get. I think that's where everything really exploded. And I was just like, God, we have these filters of a person's worth based on their attractiveness. And it's there or it's not. And we buy into it, which is what the problem is. It's not the culture's view of beauty. It's that we buy into it for ourselves. Being able to show somebody that they aren't this perception that they've gotten into their brains about their attractiveness and therefore their self-worth is what I try to do. And it's kind of amazing. We've all had friends. We've all known people who have this horrible self-worth. And we're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? You're beautiful. You're insanely beautiful, or you're attractive, or, dear God, you're such a homely human being, but wow, you have no idea. Empowering for me is being able to show people who they are from my eyes. I do photography. I would deliver pictures and hear, wow, this is amazing. You made me look beautiful. And that's not the case, because I can't photograph what's not there. I just allowed them to see themselves as I saw them. I think the most powerful thing about photography is being able to show the world how I see things, which is different than a lot of narratives out there.
So this is how I start. Hi, I'm an ex-IT guy. I come from a 3-mile-long town. Yeah, demographic makeup was hicks versus hippies. I barely fit into both. I was like 50%. I started thinking about what I truly believe. I can make it snow, make smoke rise, bring in fog very quickly. And so now I have this ability, and you can see the change. This is new. I don't know where this came from. And it's a vast improvement in and of itself. People are used to this. And this is much more palatable. So with every piece of new information, we can build and create a world. We know when we've been dumped. It hits us like a ton of bricks. Brick by brick by brick by brick. No, let's build it up to this point and then take it all away. Okay, I want to create the scene. So hold your breath for a second. The games we would play, they just simply would not work. Can you give us a smile, please? Because that literally affects each and every person in contact. Every single one. Because if you can see what the finish line looks like, it's easier to work backwards. Games are played in circles. I don't sleep. I don't see anyone. I don't see our friends. I don't know why. There's a huge difference between sending information and receiving information. All you need is the other person. 2 hands holding together. This is what people are used to. I could go back to this. I can change. Oh, we don't actually even touch. This is unacceptable. I gotta go get a glass of water.
I'm a performer, and I started performing with crazy people doing like avant-garde street theater. Performing gives me the opportunity to safely explore states, questions, and possibilities in life. Things that are sensitive, painful, delicate, confusing, difficult to understand. It's like having the opportunity to explore a completely parallel life that is different from mine, and then it informs my life. I've been sort of like pasting a life together. I decided this year that I wasn't going to stress out about work. I put a hard stop to all of the work for about 2 months to let things settle. I wasn't even going to pivot anywhere. I was just I'm going to sit here for a while. I had a lot of, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I'm not the right person, oh, blah, blah, blah. Once I just told myself, no, go ahead and try it, go ahead and fail, it's okay. More opportunities started opening up for me. The purpose of theater as a social art form is not to entertain, but it is to address questions that need to be discussed in communities that it is difficult to talk about. There are all these really crazy, bizarre, connections that just deserve focus, and the story wants to be told. It's been a very interesting journey.
I got my degree in college, so I started doing stuff in college, and then after I just kept on doing it, yeah. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing stuff. But right now, I'm just kind of trying to figure out what I'm doing with myself, I don't know if you know how realistic that opportunity is, but I'm living in a 100 theater house. It's in a transition state. It's a hot mess, but really funny. Really weird. So you saw me? So you didn't see me? Poor kids. I'm working on a Salome describing John the Baptist's head. It's don't panic, don't have too many expectations, but you have a deadline. I mean, you're working your ass off. You're on the floor, you're on ladders, you're just all over the place. One day I was in the kitchen and I decided I wanted to have these happy cheesy elves just dancing to 70s and 80s music. And another weird thing that's funny is I don't have favorite colors, I don't have favorite foods, I don't have the largest amount of patience. I mean, I want to beat myself in the head for just having that type of back and forth communicating. You can't always just lay down. It's all about having that flexibility. You have to compromise. It's been a little cathartic. But I want that to be in my stars moving forward.
actually, COVID has been a benefit because I wrote my most recent book. I used to tell stories to my dad, but he died when I was 8, and it left a big hole. I got really mad because my sister was 10 years older, and I was around when he was telling her about the facts of life, how to take care of herself, how to grow up. And I got mad and said, "That's not fair. She had you for 10 more years and I'm going to. It's not fair." And he said, "That's why you have a conscience. I'm going to find you a particularly good one. I'm going to give him to you, and you will have him when you need me. Just ask your conscience what you should do and do the best you can with it." And that was sort of the inspiration for me. Someone said, someone smart, not me, that if you don't know what to write, just write and see what happens. And I went, "Alrighty then, I thought I'd give that a shot." And lo and behold, it began to happen. And the stories that I write begin to take me where they want to go. When I start to write, I never know where they're going to end. I have a concept, a thought, something that I need to say, something basic like consciences are real. One of the things my conscience says is find out what is true and help it be better. So in my books, people who make good use of their consciences are far from perfect, but they're very human, very real, and their suffering can be felt by all of us. And when they finally figure out there was another way to go, there was kinder, more gentle, things get a little bit better for them. Now, I don't think consciences tell you just never tell a lie, be sweet all your life, because that's really not practical. But if you listen to your conscience and learn from a mistake you make that you could probably have done better, maybe next time you will. And if you focus on kindness as opposed to gathering what you can get from whatever circumstances you are in, you are more likely to have a better life. Maybe not richer, but better.
I was born and raised in Los Angeles, the hard part of South LA. But I studied theater in New York at the American Music and Dramatic Academy. I was in New York for a few years. It was at a point in my life when things weren't going really well, you know. I was working as your typical waitress, living in this studio for $3,000 with 4 roommates, and I just wanted it changed. I met up with this friend and she was like, "Oh, you should audition for this program in London." And then I got the letter saying that I was in. It was my intuition to just go. I mean, they wanted me, right? Oh, it was the highlight of my life. And I came back to LA and I was looking for some theater experience to really stretch me. And I found Del Arte. It was this 1-year program way up in Humboldt County. Now, AMDA trains you for the commercial theater. Del Arte takes all of that off. It's just about the art and the creating. And so you're working as an ensemble and you're working with all of these people from all over, and everybody brings their own little twist and adds their own little flavor. It's getting out of that comfort zone and being able to just move forward and experience the art. So being in that program really pushed me to the edge. I mean, I didn't even know I was a comedian. And then I realized how good it could be. I mean, you can bring it way up and then pull it back down if you need to. And I realized that it took clown work, and also the ability to express your emotion, you know? And so I took all of that experience like I had just met family from all over the world, and I still keep in touch with them. But then there's this point where it's like, well, what are you going to do with the rest of your life, you know? So I went into teaching, and it's rewarding. You know, it's good. I really loved it. My strong point is Spanish, so I taught Spanish for 2.5 years. And then I realized, you know, no matter how rewarding it is, I was still missing that art form, you know? So I wanted to go out there. And so now I teach only part-time. I only have 7 students. And when I tell them that I do theater, they get really excited. And so I teach in the morning, and then later in the day, I take my acting class, and that's where I focus on my theater work.
I'm going to give answers to some of the mysteries of the world. If you connect all those dots throughout, the really important parts, you have enough. Don't be afraid, but scared. I just want to let people see it. That's the most important part. I want to tell the world. I love to exist. I usually try to get out there and express myself somehow. I've been to this place and this and this and this. And I came here and here. I wound up here. A little crappy black box in New York. Ground zero. No one really wanted to give me the time of day. You gotta have a hook, he said. A total bitch. Kiss my ass. Years after years of mistakes. All this accepted failure. You get thrown curveballs. Freak out. Is anyone gonna show up? I don't think it's for here. I would never be able to. How do you manipulate it? You want to manipulate it. These thoughts, me expressing my trauma. If I put this here and this here, it's a safe space. But I don't think that. And I know that in my head, I needed to be. I sell my soul. Not for reasons that make sense other than I love it so much. Doing this and violating all sorts of rules. The fire in my belly, my blood flowing. And then it was all done. Completely written. I'm invested. You learn as soon as you can. You need to make a lot of sacrifices and cast. The people in our lives, so important and tangible, who would be left behind? You really just gotta dig deep and make sacrifices. But through the blessings, the pivot, people started showing up. I have been 100% successful ever since. Everything I've directed or produced has been something. You do have to make sacrifices. I think it's really important. I think casting is a great opportunity. This opens up a whole new environment. A place that's very relatable. A venue where you can try, make, feel, and build to your final goal. You just gotta make it happen. I did.
So my name is Georgia. My name is Georgia. I sing, I act, I have an activist clothing line, but my artistic pursuits are more so focused on film. I really want to get deeper deeper into film acting and feature films and TV shows. Denzel Washington, you know? I think he heard me singing in the hallway, and I came in, and Al Pacino was like, "Can you sing?" And I was like, "Sure." And Viola Davis was like, "Wow." Keke Palmer went to Broadway and did Cinderella. Yeah. It's like, if you can kill a stage, that's something, you know, like, I've lived conscious of, that I have lived personally experiencing, even before the riots. And the riots were really, really big here. I was already thinking about, you know, I was already hitting on, you know, I was already seeing like little 19-year-olds walking around with a t-shirt with innocent on it. And I had a switch in my head about activism. But then when the riot started, I saw it, I was like, oh, I quit my job. And I went and I protested. I started handing out bandanas, and I turned around and there was a group of people with my bandana, like 5 or 6 people with my bandanas on. And I was like, whoa, wow, this is crazy. This is wild. And I guess got even heavier into my activism. Of course, I'm still singing. I'm performing well. I haven't acted much, which I realize is heavy on my lines. But that was my tangent rant about that over and over and over again, just repeating the same old thing. It's because I feel like even though some people think they're being groundbreaking with certain things, you're just breaking ground that's already been broken and beaten upon. Whatever sent me down that road, well, I'm gonna run with it because I have the freedom to run with it. And that's really cool. Super cool. Oh, one more thing. I sing, but I don't really like musicals. Ironically, I don't like musicals. I just don't feel like that's true to form. So like, yeah.
It all started because I have boys and girls. We have 4 kids. I wanted my girls to be as comfortable as they possibly can be in this society with their body. But more importantly, I wanted my boys to say, "You're worthy, and you're worthy, and you're worthy, and you're worthy, and you're worthy." No matter what we have decided as a society or as a culture to believe is beauty, it is not a beauty contest. I think the most powerful part is just being able to show the world the way that I see things, which is definitely different than a lot of the narratives out there. The most powerful part was being with women, being able to show them how I perceive them. I just allowed them to see themselves the way that I saw them. Pretty amazing, because what I was doing was telling women who have perhaps some of their own ideas about their body, because we've all known women, we've all had friends who have just this horrible self-worth. And we're like, are you kidding me? You're beautiful, you're insanely beautiful, or you're attractive, or you have no idea, and everything else. Take my only male subject. He was absolutely amazing. We had so much fun together. He stripped down to his chonies and sat in a gravel yard we were at. So he posed in a gravel yard, and he said he had amazing feedback from the photos, which is just so great. And I'd do it again. Absolutely, so amazing. You want to come sit for the Bodies Project? It's time. It is time we all take off our clothes and take pictures. All right?